It is vital as Christians that we really care about the hearts of those people. I have personally never convinced somebody to not abort a baby, and I've heard very, very few people have success stories with that, other than people who expose the truth of the gospel, the depravity of the person, and show the hope that is found in Jesus Christ. If they'll turn from their hopeless way of living and give themselves to a God who loves them dearly, who is also a judge, but who's also a loving Father, and wants to spend eternity in right relationship with that person, I see that change people's views on, on abortion nonstop, on gay marriage nonstop, on LGBTQ nonstop, on this whole nuclear families nonstop. I see those change people's views nonstop. I have never seen somebody twist somebody's arm or convince intellectually somebody to disagree with the Black Lives Matter movement. I've seen people be able to biblically, and again, I'm not saying that there's wrong with I believe Black Lives Matter. Yes, I understand all lives matter, but again, one of the things that's really important to consider in this context, how much do you think that a black person, a person of color, feels when you say all lives matter? Yes, a black person, most people who are reasonable, agree that all lives matter. But the purpose in the context of this conversation is about somebody who's hurting. This comes back to somebody who's hurt. Again, I'm not getting into the details of each individual event that caused the Black Lives Matter to come up. I'm not talking about the organization who obviously has extremely anti-biblical, demonic things that they believe. Yes, definitely. Again, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go to Black Lives Matter, look at all their beliefs. It has things that are extremely, extremely non-biblical in there. But the idea of saying that somebody who is of color is a life that matters, for you to respond, all lives matter to that person, is a very incompassionate thing to say to them. Somebody who has, and in the same line, somebody who has had an abortion, you saying, well, that was sin, is extremely incompassionate. This isn't about the truth of the matter. This is about that person's heart. Remember, I can be right about everything I believe and be completely wrong, because my heart is not in a place of compassion towards the other person that's around me. We need to have compassion towards that person first. Love the person first. We'll talk about the details of the way of living at a later date. The last part I'll leave you with. I had a friend who gave his life to Jesus. He struggled with drug addiction, shooting up, doing meth, whole 9 yards. And he also was addicted to porn when he gave his life to Jesus. To date, I have never mentioned drugs to him. To date, I have never mentioned pornography or sexual immorality to him. Not once. I've never had to do so, and I will never have to do so. He hasn't touched any of those things since the day he got saved, no exaggeration. That's 3+ years ago. And he is still living completely righteously in those places. Do you as a person want me to just nitpick every little thing that you do wrong, which is, again, definitely sin? Do you want me to nitpick all those things that you do wrong? Or would you rather me lead you to the Son and the Son lead you to the Father and let the Father father you into righteousness? Right? You don't want to be told what you're doing wrong all the time. You'd rather see first love, see God in all of His glory, and care enough and love God enough to want to obey Him, to want to do what's right by Him, to want to live in obedience, want to live in righteousness, and those things go away. There's a pastor that I listened to, and he had a friend who was smoking cigarettes and wanted to stop smoking cigarettes because he recognized that it was sin, not good for him, whatever. And he said, I'm not going to ask you to stop smoking cigarettes. He said, all I'm going to ask is right before you smoke every time, I want you to just thank God for loving you. And in less than a month, after trying for like a decade to stop smoking cigarettes and failing, in 1 month, stopped smoking cigarettes for the rest of his entire life. And the reason is because the kindness of God led him to repentance in those places, not the criticism and rebuke of people in those moments. Again, I'm not saying there's not a place for rebukes and stuff like that, but I don't see Jesus ever rebuking a lost person. He's rebuking self-righteous people, Pharisees, religious people, but I don't see Him rebuking people who genuinely don't understand or are confused about something. He shows them nothing but love and mercy. Do you notice in the story of the woman at the well in John 4 that Jesus is not telling her all these things about what she's doing wrong, what she needs to be doing right, what she ought to be doing differently? That's not the conversation that's had with this woman. The conversation that's had with this woman is that He sees something that she's not seeing, that if she is revealed to in regards to this idea of living water, that she'll never want the lifestyle that she's been living in for her entire life. And if somebody could just show her the potential that she could be living in, that she would no longer keep living the same way that she does. Because again, she's living as an orphan and she's just lost and she doesn't understand the truth and she's living in darkness and not light. And if somebody can expose that light to her and reveal what God has called her to and who God has said that she can be, she would never walk back into that lifestyle. And that's exactly what we see happen in John 4. And why are we not doing that same thing that Jesus has done himself and commanded us to do ourselves today? Because if we were to do that today, I believe that we'd see way more people repenting of their sins and spend their lives with an eternity in right relationship with Jesus. And then after that, we can talk about the incorrect doctrinal points that they have down the road. Leading with that will never bring somebody to Jesus. But leading with the gospel and the goodness of God will lead somebody to Jesus. And after that happens, you'll see a whole lot more people change their views on their political stances, on their incorrect moral stances, so on and so forth. So I love you all, appreciate you all. Hopefully that's been of benefit to you. If there's any questions, comments, concerns you've had, I know I couldn't answer and clearly explain everything. We're already at 18 minutes. So just put your comments or whatever below and I'd love to answer them. But I love you all, appreciate you all. I'll chat with you guys in the next one.